Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this installment, we will be looking at the game Rifles in the Nam. This is from Gottardo Zancani and is published by Tiny Battle Publishing. Now, this is the latest in a series that includes several different games. And as far as I know, this is the first one that's actually been boxed. So these typically have come in bags. And this one, of course, as you can see, is in a box. So if you prefer boxed games, then you will obviously enjoy the fact that this one does come in a box. Now, here on the back, it does say introducing Rifles in the Nam, the next installment in Gottardo Zancani's popular solitaire rifle series. This time set in the intense battlegrounds of the Vietnam War. So I won't read everything on here, but basically this is a game that doesn't use hexes, but instead has maps that we'll see in a little bit, and you kind of progress up the map. So it's compact yet immersive. It delivers challenging tactical gameplay in a portable package. So that's a key item. This is a game that is very portable. As I said, they typically in the past have come in Ziploc baggies and were easily transportable, so you can bring them with you when you travel, etc. Inside, you'll find 105 visually appealing 1-inch square die-cut counters, 3 distinct maps depicting jungles, VC tunnel complexes, and cityscapes, army sheets for the U.S. Marines and Army, the North Vietnamese, and Viet Cong, 12 missions and a campaign, each with its own unique challenges, player aid cards, a user-friendly rule book and scenario book for easy reference, 3 six-sided dice, and several plastic bags to store your units. It's for 14 and up. Age-wise, it is a solitaire game. Complexity is 5 on a 10 scale, and playing time in typical Mark H. Walker fashion is 1 hour to 5 hours and 3 minutes. So let's rip into the box. We'll rip the shrink wrap off and take a look at what's inside. Okay, let's open it up. All right, so here are our baggies and our 3 six-sided dice. The rule book. So let's start there. So here's our rule book. So Rifles in the Nam is the 4th title in the Theaters of War series. So these rules represent the designer's effort to create a simple solitaire system which recreates small combat engagements, 5 to 10 units per side. And the rules have been designed to be generic enough to cover many periods like world wars, classical battles, science fiction, fantasy, and more. Rifles in the Nam covers the Vietnam War, focusing on the year 68. That would be 1968 to 71. So you can see the rules go 19 pages, and we have our case system layout here. So we'll take a look. You get the game overview with a list of the components. The player will need to provide 5 six-sided die. We have 3 that came with it, so you may need to have a couple more, which typically is not a problem for war gamers. An opaque container for randomly drawing counters. So everybody, I think if you've played enough war games, you are well aware of what an opaque container means. List of the abbreviations, which, fairly straightforward. And we have our units. So you'll have an army, which each unit will belong to one of 3 armies: the United States, U.S. Army, or U.S. Marine Corps, the North Vietnam Army, which will be orange. The U.S. is green, as you can see here, and the Viet Cong is yellow, with unit counters bearing a color and symbol distinct to the army. Then we'll have the name, the identifier, the type, basic or armored. Basic units represent single-foot soldiers and gun crews. Armored units represent vehicles. Note that armored units are not in all modules, but may be included in future expansions. Then you'll have things like range, combat factors, which are die roll modifiers when attacking an enemy unit. The target number, the value that must be used or reached to damage the unit in combat. Attributes, which are additional traits of the unit, including special combat effects, and build points, which is the cost of the unit. Then you have morale and morale check, map cards. So this, as I mentioned, this isn't a hexed encountered type game. This is a game that, Then we have our map cards. This is not a hexed encountered game, as I mentioned earlier. Hex and counter game. So you can see here that you have a map card, and basically you move up or down the map. Stripe 1 normally represents the enemy, while stripe 6 is the entry point of your troops, so you would move up, etc. Reference to previous stripe means the numerically precedent stripe. So if it says, previous stripe and you're in 4, the previous stripe would be 5, etc. Terrain. So you have various terrains, base terrain markers. So you have markers for the terrain. So there are other games, obviously, that use cards or, counters or overlays to indicate various terrain types. That is the same here. We see jungle here and building. And this will have an effect on, as you would expect, cover and movement, etc. A number in the lower right corner represents the cover points of the terrain. So jungle would be 1, a building would be 2. Then you have the list of the various types of terrain, which include things like jungle, deep jungle, foxholes, buildings, fields, rice paddies, elephant grass, etc. There's barbed wire and obstacles, cover markers, booby traps, line of sight, your game sequence, your mission setup, a game turn track here. Set up your terrain. This is how you set things up, right? So mission setup, then you'll do terrain, your event markers, squad selection with their costs down here. So in this example, I'm starting a new mission playing the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army provides 12 build points that I use to create the following squad. And then you can see the leader, he's got an M16, he costs 1. 2 assistant leaders with M16s cost 2. 2 grenade launchers, the M79, they cost 4. 4 riflemen with a rifle cost 4. 8 grenades, each cost 1, etc. Enemy selection, mission execution, then your game turn, which is group creation, friendly unit activation, enemy presence check, enemy forces activation, and you decrease your game turn marker. You're not going to be aware of where the enemies are. You have spotting to find hidden, sometimes enemy entrance, and then you of course have events, enemy force activation. This is a solitaire game, so obviously the game system will provide the mechanisms to determine what the enemy is doing and so on. Attacks, hopeless enemy attacks. The general idea is that enemy units will try to avoid an attack if there's no chance to hit the target, combining their forces if possible. Overwatch fire, etc. Recon points, the procedure for combat. So selecting the target, rolling for the attack, area of effect, suppression damage, cover fire, and close combat. As you might expect, engagement and close combat end, joining a close combat. Enemy units entering close combat, recovery, special weapons. You have grenades, grenade launchers, weapon mount, like a heavy machine gun, claymores, fire support. So artillery, attack helicopters or tanks, leadership. So your leaders will have an impact as you would expect. Fire groups, helicopter operations, landing zones or LZs, assigning units to helicopters, landing, and some rules for what happens on the landing table. Embarking, which you would, to board the helicopter, etc. Hidden units, how you gain hidden status, effects of being hidden, etc. Spotting, nighttime rules, tunnel rats, tunnel map. So you have a tunnel map. That's obviously a twist for this particular game. We have range, march line, equipment, actions. Did I miss a page? 15, yes I did. More combat in tunnels, rules for tunnel combat basically. Enemy activation, special rules for the City of Way, city terrain, multi-story buildings. So obviously you can have, in addition to your jungle and tunnel combat, you can also have city combat for, like the Tet offensive basically in Way. Exposed movement civilians, mission ending, campaign game, how that works, starting a new campaign, your fatigue for the campaign turns, squad assignment, reinforcement requests, new missions, etc. And then skills. So you have different skills that you can add as you progress through the campaign. Fatigue check, and then advanced rules to include mortars and grenade launchers. And then we've got our list of credits, our game design, and our play testers. And back here you have army sheet overviews showing build point costs to create your squad and all the information, attributes, equipment, unit names and weapons, etc. So you have the Army here, Marines, the NVA, and the Viet Cong. And then a unit roster on the back that you can photocopy and use while playing. So now we have our mission sheet. We'll take this next. So this will list the missions, of course. So you can see here, I'm having a problem finding the individual pages. So you've got 12 things in here, 12 missions. And so, you know, I don't want to give away the house here, but you've got obviously some information for setting up and all, you know, which map you use, your objective, setup info, special rules for this particular mission. It'll tell you what enemy forces you'll be facing, terrain table for each stripe of the map, and we're on map A, which we'll see in a moment. Then events that can happen, landing zone table, the landing table that you will roll on to see what happens when you attempt to land, target tables, enemy presence, special activation, enemy activation table. So this would be first mission, and you can see it's eliminate the enemy forces on stripe 1. Your squad has been ordered to help a convoy ambushed by enemy forces. So there are 12 of these, ranging in various things. So you can see here the titles of them. I won't go through everything, but you have tunnel rats and prison camps, search and destroy, the village, night combat, rice paddy, etc., etc. And then your campaign table on the back. All right, now we'll take a look at the maps. So the cards here for the maps. So you have A, they're single-sided, so here is A, which is jungle, as you can see. So you start in 6 and move your way up. The enemy will be in 1. And we have our tunnel map, which is B. And you can see here various areas of the tunnel where you will progress through. And again, these are all single-sided. And then we have our city map. And so all of these work well because you'll have individual terrain that you can put in each stripe that helps kind of indicate what's in it. So it's an abstraction, but you do have the mats for each type of terrain in the game. Then we have some player aids. So our track here is the first one. And this has fatigue level, turn track, on your air mobile for helicopter 1 and helicopter 2. Then on this one, this is two-sided. So this side has your skills table, civilians, exposed movement on the way map, exposed movement table here. And then on the other side, we have our game turn. So your sequence of play, basically, unit morale, combat mods, recon points, recovery, unit activation, close combat modifiers, and then your roster can be down here. And again, you can probably photocopy this to write in your roster, and then your night range table. And then we finally have the counters. They come in a baggie. And there are, looks like 3 sheets. They pop out really easily. So here we have some of the American forces. So you have a rifle, you have rifles here, right? Flamethrower, mortar. These would be NVA, these guys here. some mines, your numerical markers. The other side, you'll have booby traps and unknown for the numerical stuff. Then we have more the flip side of the American units and the flip side of the NVA, which on this side are Viet Cong. Then we have another sheet here. We have more NVA and Viet Cong on this side, some NPCs, game turn, support fire fields, and then you have suppression markers, helicopter markers. And on the other side, you can see the other side, we have bridges, rice paddies, support fire, etc., etc. And this one, so these are the terrain. So you have town, elephant grass, jungle, multi-story buildings, towns, more jungle, rice paddies, and more elephant grass. And on the other side, again, you have buildings, towns, jungles, the floors, trees, elephant grass, deep jungle, etc., etc. All right, so that is the look at the game Rifles in the Nam. And I'm going to try to get a playthrough of this game done pretty quickly. Only because this is a small footprint game. I can actually travel with it, so I will bring it with me on my travels here for work and try to get a playthrough in so that you guys can actually see the game in action. So again, this is Rifles in the Nam. It is available from Tiny Battle Publishing. It is designed by Gottardo Zancani and is available on the Tiny Battle website. I will put the link in the description. So as always, thank you for watching. Please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing if you are a subscriber. Thank you for your support. It is appreciated. And that's going to do it for now. So I'm Joe. This is the Hexed Encounter channel. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.